There we are. Okay. Hello. Good morning, everybody. So we are now just coming online. We will wait a few moments to get other people on the line before we actually start. Maybe in a couple of minutes. So we do have another special presentation today during our 32nd Indigenous Global Unity Summit event. We are in week 32. So Andrew Williams Jr. Today will be making a presentation about the special things that are going on, I guess, and some of the history of the UN Global Compact. And so in a few moments we will start, and I will make the official introduction, which will again be slightly shorter today. I've been adding new slides and rearranging, trying to make it a little bit more clear for everybody about exactly what it is we're trying to do and our approach to this special way that we undertake engagement with communities for sustainable development and our path forward toward the future we all want to see, or at least hoping that we all want to see, as we present different options for people to consider as they move forward in their local communities to implement the global goals. So it looks like there are still people coming on the line. It's 11:05 my time in the morning here in Toronto, Canada. But since we are potentially having more people coming on, we'll give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. And then I will ask our host, Andrew, to start the recording and get us on our way.
Well, thank you so much, Lloyd. And just to let you know, for Susan Diego, I've added you as co-host, so perhaps you can give us some assistance as I'll be multitasking. So thank you so very much, but we'll start recording when you let me know, Lloyd.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, and hello, Susan. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Staying very busy in these chat groups, are we not? So perhaps let me just arrange my desktop so I will have this presentation ready. So we don't waste too much time on this. So we can start here, and then I will share my screen. Hello. All right, thank you very much, Andrew. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the week 32 of the Indigenous Global Unity Summit, our IGU Summit. So we are now in the second week of 2022. Let me just share my screen here with everybody. So go. And just somebody let me know when they do see that.
The message says you started screen sharing, but it hasn't yet come up. Now it's there.
Okay.
Good
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Okay. So as always, I do start these sessions. Just give me a second here. With our land acknowledgement. As soon as I pull that up. Whoa. go. Just have to find the so many windows opened on my desktop here. Oh, okay, there it is. A little bit on the slow side here on the computer, but I'd just like to say, start today again to acknowledge those who came before us on this land. I do say land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We would also like to acknowledge the land we're on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. And we also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So I, again, start today, as always, with the presentation by giving recognition to our supporters, sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks, which has recently replaced EdFu Foundation as our primary sponsor of these Global Unity Network weekly Thursday Zoom calls, which now continue through to December 29th, 2022. Andrew Networks will also be rebroadcasting production-ready episodes of these types of events on the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, or AHIABGA.org domain, which will be redirected to the UCIT-TV site. So again, I will put in various messages into the chat for people to have links to what I'm talking about each time. So on this page, you'll also see logos for different organizations, including the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, the Future Lift Foundation, the Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, the Community Development Foundation, the American International Education Federation, the EdFu Foundation, and many more. I will again put into the chat for people to have those links for some of these organizations. In particular, I did want to express my thank you again to Andrew Networks, who is again our primary sponsor supporting the promotional ecosystem for the Global Unity Network Initiative through to December 29th, 2022 now. And it is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. Andrew Networks being a brand and domain name owned by ParXTC Export Trading Company, comprising various social media channels, including TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So Andrew also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with a focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs from 2020 to 2030. Andrew later appointed me as an Ad Hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassador representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries, and published it on January 1st, 2020. My appointment as a representative for Turtle Island was added later, or earlier, in 2021. So I am also, again, my name is Lloyd Halferty. I am the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energize University, which is headquartered in Manhattan, New York. Although I am located in the city of Markham in the Greater Toronto area in southern Ontario, Canada, Energyme University is a private company created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance to their local environments. Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into local communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth, managing local waste streams, and protecting local water resources. Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies they employ. Importantly, Energyme University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Again, I will put my contact information into the chat for everyone to see. So I am also the co-founder and administrator of the We Energyme Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society organization that's seeking to undertake what we call life value peace education, which is done in the context of life gardens. So as noted earlier, I was also designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities as a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and activists seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as interfaith, neighborhood, and business collaboratives, which are seeking to leave no one behind. So I am a co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow Global Unity Network. So the Global Unity Business Group is a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform we call the VCN, or the Interchange for Peace. The Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize this process of localization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, which so far includes a Unity Gardens network, a Unity Learning network, along with many other dedicated Unity networks, all being important components of our network of networks. Please note that the existing social media, WhatsApp, and Facebook and LinkedIn groups that we're using right now are simply being used as a placeholder as we build our global network and prepare to launch, and where we will eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes of our network onto this virtual collaborative network, where we will then be able to gain access to the many tools and services that are available there, and where we will have much more easily collaborate in order to implement these globally coordinated real world projects. So the Global Unity Network was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm very much focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation, often the over-exploitation of people and the natural world, and therefore the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. Our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies that are in particular the most food insecure. So the Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery of what we call these practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030. We're focused on using the tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, or FFHE, using hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training or learning programs and platforms with a primary focus on delivery of humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in practical settings or practicum learning, along with leveraging various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INABC teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms in all local communities around the world, where these Unity Garden classrooms, set up in conjunction with existing schools in local communities, can be used for the local and remote or virtual delivery of the practicum learning programs for the FFHE to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, globally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity in their local communities for all people on all continents, with the intention, of course, of leaving no one behind. So we also promote through our virtual social marketing all of the members of our network. So we use all of the various practical social media, networking, trade tools, including those of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combining the wisdom of the crowds with the deep indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living indigenous people of this earth in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity and ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So the Global Unity Network, virtual collaborative network, or hybrid learning model, will be delivered through both the Unity Gardens for hands-on experiential practical learning, as well as through a digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of individual websites into a single site or collaborative portal that allows for all of the digital and virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where e-commerce can also take place. In other words, it's an all-in-one platform for trade, commerce, and learning, bundled into a single platform. The VCN uses what's called the Digital Collaborator Engine, intended to turbocharge the networking, exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's also called the PXN, Partnership Exchange System. Digital collaboration technology will help organizations in 6 areas of digital transformation, in the areas of leadership, digital strategy, customer intimacy, business service design, agile transformation, and for doing health check analysis of their organization. So we believe that this VCN platform can help every organization become an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them to move beyond this current health pandemic, and where the VCN is intended to be a stepping stone toward a new vision of the internet called the metaverse, which of course has had a lot of attention recently with the renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which refers to the metaverse concept. So the business group is actually managing the Global Unity Network geographically by helping to create these localized country, regional, and continental Unity Net globally, local business development networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks. The regional and continental Unity Network Organizations will organize themselves according to the concepts and principles of what's called sociocracy, and will assist communities in each country to establish local and regional community engagement teams called INAB collaboratives or INABCs, Interfaith Neighborhood Business Collaboratives. But the primary purpose of both the business and the network is actually to promote the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors process of globalization of the global goals, specifically by promoting processes that can help local communities establish partnerships as per SDG 17 that will support local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. I actually want to talk about the purpose of the Global Unity Network. Our main purpose really being for the Global Unity Network country chapters to essentially use the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of localization of the global goals, which is a specific community engagement process in order to assist local communities to establish and maintain these local and regional interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives, or the INAB collaboratives, in each local community according to a multi-stakeholder HEPTA matrix template. For example, in the partnership between Drawdown Markham CSO and the 5 Points Youth Foundation NGO is being done through the We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, whose mandate is to deliver life value peace education within the context of Life Learning Gardens, which are also now called Unity Gardens. So under the framework of cooperation that's created, rather than just looking at individual projects on a one-by-one basis, the Global Unity Network is being created to establish a global support network that will help to establish these local support networks of professionals in each local community where projects are to be implemented, and where ultimately the design and assessment of projects are not being done by people who are remote to the communities and projects, but rather by trusted people who are living closest to the projects, including the beneficiaries, especially those who are currently the most marginalized in those communities. So our goals are also to support and uplift people in marginalized communities through the delivery of the learning programs, the practical hands-on education training, and also to promote all of the youth and female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement replicable regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting, of course, with the Sustainable Development Goals. So we focus on regenerative solutions, which can be localized, one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, by working with the people who have most forgotten, or have been most forgotten and marginalized, with the intention, again, of leaving no one behind. So the Global Unity Network, our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. And so if we can uplift people and lift them out of poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. Thus, the goal of the Global Unity Network is therefore uplifting the bottom billions. So our ultimate goal being teaching people how to feed themselves the climate smart way, where we should think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, and you will feed him for a lifetime. The Global Unity Network is about teaching especially women and youth to fish, so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So we also focus on promoting and demonstrating only open source solutions, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure, again set up as Unity Garden classrooms at and with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools. So I can also send anyone who wishes to read more a 4-page PDF document that describes the Global Unity Network in more detail. So one of our key programs is called the Ctp Program, or the Collaborative Tree Planting Program. So the CTP program is being created in order to help enable local management of and adaptation to long-term social, economic, and planetary impacts. It's also being created to help create legacy forests for people, biodiversity, and the planet, and to help secure energy and food resources, climate resilience, and poverty alleviation. So we aim to teach people about how they can implement the various rural and urban holistic sustainability infrastructure that we are promoting, and we will help to deliver this knowledge to people who are in these local communities throughout our network. The learning programs of the network partners will be delivered using the lens of humanitarian entrepreneurship, education, and training programs, especially for youth, educators, and decision makers of all kinds. So through our programs, local communities will come together to create these INAB collaboratives through the commemorative tree of plantings that are part of the 400 and 800 anniversary Tree of Peace and Reconciliation ceremonial initiatives, many of which have taken place in cities and communities around the world, originally since late 2019. So the original twin Trees of Peace and Reconciliation tree plantings at first took place here in Canada, in Pickering, Ontario, and then later in Bermuda, where a precursor to the ongoing tree plantings that are part of a social enterprise arrangement with Forest Nation, their We Plant program, which is being delivered through the Re-Energized Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, which is working closely with Plant for the Planet organization, which actually intends to plant 1 trillion trees around the world in the next few decades. So we are supporting and work in partnership with the Unity programs and the local Unity network organizations that have been established and continue to be established around the world that deliver the various projects, campaigns, and events, such as these Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, the Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment events and shows, along with these Indigenous Global Unity Summit series events, which will continue to take place until the end of this year. As well as we have coordinated international bubble fun festivals, and importantly, it must be mentioned that we are also working to support the expansion of the Global Women's Development Network. So I would ask that everybody please also register to participate in the International Women's Day Conference that will take place later this year from March 8th March 4th to 8th. So we will want everybody on our network to also take part in these meetings. So I just put in some relevant information into the chat, quite a bit of new information this week. So as we move forward, as noted, we are supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure set up as lifeline gardens, designed for delivery of hands-on practical learning programs, supporting all manner of life value peace education. So these life learning gardens, CFD Unity Gardens, are CSV Gardens, Victory Forests, Climate Smart Kitchens, Spark Learning Centers, or as we call them, Climate Smart Education and Training Centers, and Wheel of Life farms and farm schools. So our projects include what we call a Sacred Site and Watershed Mapping Project, the Ctp Program, or Collaborative Tree Planting Initiative for twinning communities, along with collaboration for the development of a system of payments for ecosystem services or certified climate smart products that help to permanently sequester carbon and that are made by humanitarian enterprises that are helping to implement local solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs. Some of our other key campaigns include a Dream Boards in Every Community campaign to establish local community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth to help turn their dreams into reality, along with a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other or get to know each other as people. So the idea is actually to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people and the environments in each of our own local communities. So people who participate would also discuss what kinds of teas they like to drink, what healthy foods they like to eat while drinking those teas, and what unique teas they grow in their own local communities or region, and the importance of those teas to their local people and cultures. So our first Continental Unity Network development network is now UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. It's intended to be a safe space for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop a continental network for all the people of Africa and for eventual replication across all the countries worldwide, starting again with the least developed countries, communities, and economies, or LDCCEs. The initial board of directors for the African Continental Unity Network is listed on the slide, and the new board of directors also has confirmed an official advisory board. So Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone is the new Continental president. Dr. Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria is the new vice Continental president. So Sierra Leone is actually one of the oldest Global Unity Network chapters, where there are 10 trees of peace and reconciliation already planted in communities across the country, which serve as a precursor for the creation of the local INAB collaboratives and the establishment of Unity Garden classrooms infrastructure. So the new board of directors of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora was put together in a way to try to represent the 6 regions of Africa, and the selection process made an attempt to achieve gender balance of the board by ensuring that about half of the board members and leaders were women, as per SDG 5, gender equality, where the African team is now working in cooperation with other existing Global Unity Network country chapters in Africa to create a model for the development of a continental and regional network of networks by supporting the grassroots people in the country chapters. The African model will eventually be replicated in order to create country chapters across all 55 African nations, and will likely also establish a formal dialogue and connection with the African Union. But the African success is not just for Africa, it will also be for other continents and countries around the world, where we will, of course, focus our efforts, as always, on the least developed countries, communities, and economies that are being furthest left behind. So again, in the chat, there are some links. So we are also planning to link the North American or Turtle Island and African agendas across time and space, linking our programs together in a way that makes sense by developing what we're calling that reverse Ctp program, modeled on the original Ctp program developed by Drawdown Markham in late 2019. So the business group has its home in Canada, but with strong support and involvement from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the United States of America in particular. Also like to everyone on this call today to consider joining one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Unity Network, including the Global Unity Network social media discussions that have been created by the Global Unity Business Group, which is, as noted, a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable development corporation supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as these life learning gardens or Unity gardens. Oops, a little bit on the slow side over here, sorry. Okay, that was fun. Okay, I'd like to mention something's going on here. I'd like to mention some other critical nodes of the Global Unity Network, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learning Network, the Unity Health Network, the Unity Eco Village Network, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, as well as the Unity Environment Network and the Unity Biodiversity Network. So in addition, we are developing even more essential nodes of the network, including the Peace Centers Network, a Children and Youth Network, a Smart Communities and Cities Network, a Social Business Network, a Climate Smart Tourism Network, aligning with the Tourism for SDGs mandate, the Women's and Feminist Network for humanitarian entrepreneur business owners and managers to exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among each other, along with a number of other critical networks and nodes. But most recently, a Unity Water Network was established that is designed to address all of the various water sustainability issues that are related to the achievement of the global goals as we attempt to transition to a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So along with the water network, we have also established a globalized net zero team supporting the creation of a campaign for globalization of the global goals, where we are focused on cities who are attempting to achieve their net zero ambitions. We will very likely focus our attention on the C40 Cities Network through a proposed partnership between GHH, the UN Global Compact, the C40 Cities Network, and the C4 Group, for all of the people in all the cities of the world who are members of the C40, but especially also for every marginalized person in every country, city, and local community and economy on Earth, inclusive, of course, of all Africans and all Indigenous people of the world. So this is a local project of UnityNet GTA and is being coordinated together with the founder of the Indigenous Unity Flag, whose cousin is actually a famous hip hop artist here in Toronto. So again, I am putting more links to new network nodes that likely people have not seen in the chat before, including our localized net zero team, along with a link to the Indigenous Global Unity Flag website. So the Global Unity Network is being created to promote everyone equally who are willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the achievement of the global goals, not just for the success of their own businesses, but within the Global Unity Network. We want to promote the health of people and planet, which must be placed front and center. So the first purpose of the Global Unity Network is to help establish a global network of these local INAB collaboratives, or INABC. And so I will put in to the chat later the link to that. But I wanted to note the new name, Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives, as per this HAPGA Matrix partnership template, which is shown on this slide. So the Global Unity Network has a very specific focus on one specific area of development, which is really this hybrid, virtual, and hands-on practical education and training in the context of and for regenerative development solutions, for which we intend to assist people in local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of the 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions in their own local communities in collaboration with the existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will, at minimum, be able to address at least 2 of the Sustainable Development Goals. The first being SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and the second being SDG 13, Climate Action. I'm putting more information into the chat. So, however, we are building a global network. It does cut across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship learning as they relate to the implementation of various local solutions for achieving the global goals, and that are related to our even more specific focus on the climate smart food and related regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond the Sustainable Development Goals and into a new era of regenerative development, however that might ultimately be defined post-2030. So we are starting the conversation now, about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to this next phase of the global goals, or post-2030, where the SDGs are now just the second phase of this 1,000-year Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind. and where the larger Millennium Development Project intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. Again, I am putting some additional links that have not been posted before during these summits. So I will be finishing a little bit early today to give more time for Andrew to give his presentation, but I wanted to say again in summary, the humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs that we are supporting are very much focused again on engaging youth, educators, and decision makers in the learning programs and the community engagement processes, but with a strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities and also of their homes and families, again, as per SDG 5 gender equality. So the goal of the business and the network is to eventually establish what we call a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is just a fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we're establishing is a network that includes platforms for delivering education, training, awareness raising, open idea, and cultural exchange programs, and is managed by the Global Unity Business Group. So the hybrid learning network that we're creating consists of the virtual collaborative network Interchange for Peace that is networked through social media and will be implemented alongside a network of internet-enabled international Unity learners, which is in turn supported by the Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value peace education in each of our own local communities. And I put in the link to the Unity Learning Network along with the professional network. And again, on the last and final slide for today, I show some sustainability guidelines. I leave a slide up on the screen for a few moments every day, every week, I should say, as well to let people read this. Those guidelines that are shown here were provided to us by Mike Nickerson from the 7th Generation Initiative Sustainability Project, who is the author of the book called Life, Money, and Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Want to Stay. So again, in the chat, I put a link to Mike's website and Facebook group. So again, this is the end of today's introductory session. Again, I want to recognize our guests, starting with the women. I'd like to ask everyone who's on the call, please put your contact information into the chat window so that others on the call will have your contact info as well, especially if you are new to the IGU Summit events and the Global Unity Network. So I'm seeing a message from Erwan, time to present GIS. We will have Erwan on at some future event. We can let Erwan speak a little bit about it because we are moving forward with him through actually the UnityNet Finance Group. But right now, we will move to our discussions as we transition to the next phase. And I guess at this point, Andrew will probably stop the recording and restart it. So we will have a fresh new session for discussions and then his own presentation.
You're absolutely correct. Give me just 1 second, please. So I'm going to stop share, and also I think I'm going to give ourselves a closing of the this is the weekly Eurasia, Americas, and Africa Global Unity Network. We welcome you all here, and we will, as Lloyd say, be continuing this on a regular basis every Thursday at the same time throughout the rest of this year and beyond. We'll actually be going through at least 2023, but the Zoom calendar only allows us to have 1 year at a time. So I'm going to stop recording now, and we'll begin our next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. So I guess if anybody would like to speak or introduce themselves at this point in time, they can put up their hand. So
Yes, the floor is open. Actually, Lloyd, you finished with so much time that if this is the time for any of our guests, if you like, to go ahead and please introduce yourself. And let's say at least a minute, 2 minutes for anyone that would like to take this time. We have about 15 minutes altogether. So consider this to be an open house. The ball's in your court. Thanks for joining us.
yeah, and I did actually I cut out about half my slides out today. I didn't want to keep going and going and going as I sometimes do. I don't want it to be just my voice during these sessions. So I just cut it a little bit short because I want time to other people to talk about their own local initiatives. This is what we are doing here, is promoting our members and want them to be front and center as we move forward, because it is the local actions that we do each in our own local communities that really matters in the end.
So in the meantime, let me ask Erwin, you asked to share your screen for your GIS presentation. How long is the presentation, Erwin? If you can unmute yourself.
And it would be preferable, I think, if we bring Erwin on for a special session, maybe in a few weeks' time, to have a formal presentation of his entire program.
Well,
we can talk about it for 2 minutes.
You know, the great news is that we can kind of treat this like our own broadcast series, Lloyd. So it's always nice to let the audience know what's coming up. Give them teasers.
And by the way, I am actually putting together an online calendar. It is approximately halfway done now. Hopefully in the next couple of days, I will have that published so that I can share that link with everybody, and then we will have a formal calendar of all of our events. Actually, the calendar contains, part of the reason why it's taking so long is because the calendar contains all special UN events. So I'm trying to have all of those so people have access and understand the many events to commemorate all the different days throughout the year, along with our events, of course, which are typically aligned with those UN special events. So maybe what I can do first is actually ask if Gemma Garcia might be able to introduce herself one more time, because I've actually been having some side conversations with Gemma recently, who's also here in Canada, and we are establishing a couple of new networks. So Gemma, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'm just happy to join the IGS for the new year, as I have been learning so many initiatives ongoing from many of the members in the Africa diaspora when I joined the group a couple of weeks ago. So it is very encouraging to know like there are changes happening in different areas and people are connecting to each other and learning very much about the organization. And at my area, from my own perspective, because I work in the on the cultural community, and just kind of like developing relationships and trying to bring forward the projects of Ctp program for plausible collaborations in Calgary area. So yeah, I'm kind of like happy to share what I will be doing in the future and keep bringing it to the group. Thank you.
And I wanted to mention as well, Gemma is also working with me, and we are trying to develop a culture team to really focus on those cultural aspects of our network that are very important to a lot of our members, especially I think in the African diaspora, as well as in Africa itself, especially among the I guess 3,000 or so tribes of the indigenous communities of Africa, who have so much to share with the rest of the world, where people just have really so little knowledge. And then, of course, all of the indigenous communities of Asia as well, who are really unknown to us and have so much to teach us.
Yeah, I have to say that it's a challenge to get a sense of how productive intercultural communication and collaboration can be for like such a wide range of groups and geographical areas. So as much as it's challenging for the UnityNet projects, the way they operate by providing educational platforms, it is actually very much like bringing forward like sustainable goal developments and all the technical knowledge needed for projects like the pod that was presented as part of the solar roof. And I have spoken with one of the members in Tanzania, actually with Philibert, and he's part of a local, national cooperative member for youth and for grassroots in Tanzania. So they actually are kind of like talking to consulting in order to implement a project that is actually so promising in the sense that it allows like an open patent and distributed patent, and it allows to kind of like adjust the project to special needs for farming or for a specific greenhousing needs within communities. So because it has so many possibilities adjust to the uses of the technology or the building in itself, they are actually having their own conversations locally. So hopefully, if I keep talking to Philibert, which I don't know if he's today here, so I can learn more about their progress in this area, because it can be shared with the group as well. So, and it's part of the background culture, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to mention as well to Emma and everybody on this call, actually, that as we build these partnerships, the local partnerships in each local community, one of the partners that we will want to bring in, so we'll have those local INAB collaboratives managed likely by an organization called Twikatane EV, which is actually based in Germany, as we build these local communities. But the HEPTA Matrix partnership template is to engage with all of these different sectors of partners in the local communities. But one of those partners will be PodNet. So PodNet Cooperative is a global cooperative based out of Iceland. And so we want them to be part of the local community collaborative, where people can join that local PodNet chapter and learn all that they need to know about the technologies and the solutions. And they are, again, focused on the humanitarian entrepreneurship learning. So they'll be able to teach, especially youth, how to actually implement these solutions in the local community, in the local context. Again, in the context of the learning gardens, we'd like these youth to actually start building these structures in their local communities, with that knowledge being delivered again virtually to them through the digital infrastructure that we want to establish. So I actually briefly saw somebody's hand go up, but I didn't notice who it was. Was that you, Erwin?
No, it was Juliet. Hi, Lloyd. Hi, everyone.
Yes. Hello, Heidi.
Yes. No, it's Juliet. I've logged in with the link that Heidi has sent me. I couldn't log in with my usual link. Thank you. It's Juliet Miabo from South Africa, Soweto.
Okay.
Yes. No, I was just wanting to chip in on the cultural exchange initiative and network you're working on, which I think is very critical, and it would be good for us in South Africa specifically to also maybe to engage with you and see opportunities to network, because we are faced with a situation where with the digital space, social media, internet, we are seeing a gradual disappearance of indigenous cultures. You know, some of them can be protected through the creative sector. So I think from a creative sector perspective, it would be nice to, or it would be good to engage with the network you're looking at in order to create platforms for promotion of indigenous cultures in the face of globalization, because now things are getting so global that we have to actually literally preserve what we can on a cultural plane. Thank you.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree. And this is why I'm engaging with Gemma, because I think the same sort of trends are happening in communities around the world where there's a sort of a homogenization of sort of a global culture, but there's so much to be gained by having people remember. And I think this is actually what's happening now in Canada. Remember, especially among the Indigenous communities, where people are learning their ancient languages, and people are learning their ancient histories and cultures as well, including the ceremonies. So I'm seeing as well, Andrew wants to say something now.
Well, only that I noticed that Erwin now has unmuted himself, and in about 2 minutes, I'm going to start my presentation. So I want to give Erwin a chance to briefly give us an overview, about 2 minutes, and then I'll begin my presentation. Thank you, Erwin. Please introduce yourself to our audience as well.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
no,
we
can
can.
everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, basically, I just want to mention about this program, Guaranteed Income System for Poor Farmer. So this is pretty much on the family, for individual family farmer, where there's a provider of funding. So whether it is an investor who may be expecting some return, as well as maybe some NGO who might be just simply providing some funding for social aspect to improve the economy of this family. So in this family basically doesn't have to come up with any money at all. All funding is provided by the donor, the provider. So for example, we have some Moringa olivera. So the provider provides some seedling, whether it is a stake or some kind of seedling. So then the farmer will have only maybe we're expecting 1,000 meters. So it's not a big land, but should be sufficient for them with their income. And then when it is harvest time, the farmer, when it is selling the harvest, this money that initially given to the farmer as an initial funding is returned back to the investor, maybe with some small return on investment, maybe 20%, depending on the agreement, maybe also 0%. So in that case, all the result of the harvest is given to the farmer, the poor farmer. And the farmer then can be selling it to a market, and this selling is guaranteed. So there has to be some kind of arrangement with the market where the market will be able to absorb this product, or the investor themselves may be absorbing this harvest, giving the farmer income. And with respect to Moringa, the investor may be able to donate this product to maybe clinic for baby growing with the nutrition value of the Moringa is so high. So it is ideal for maybe children from day 0 to day maybe 1,000. So the first 3 years it may be the best growing of the brain function and so on. So there will be a certain aspect of social aspect is the key on this one. The investor may be ready to lose money in case maybe they don't make money, they'll be fine. So they have to be prepared. The most important aspect is the social impact of it. That the farmer will get some money. It can be more complicated, there may be a manager. So in case maybe there are 10 or 20 farmers, poor farmers in the area, they can get together and maybe managed by one manager. And so this manager will be communicating with the donor money, the provider, and the manager also will have some income. So this arrangement is a win-win situation for everybody. Whether it is NGO will provide some kind of funding in the social aspect, and maybe the product of this harvest may be either given as a social gifts to product, whether it is a food or maybe for poor people in the area. So a lot more distribution for the food. So basically, it can be flexible. Again, there's an investor, they can get back some of this money. They can also zero return. They can also provide completely to the farmer. For NGO with non-profit organization, maybe they simply want to have this funding used and come up with the product, the harvest. It doesn't have to be harvest. It could be an artist produce some product. It could be some kind of salesperson. They may be able to sell some of this product into market, and therefore they also get some income. So what I would like to point out is flexible. It is a win-win situation, and hopefully I will have a chance to present this in more detail, including some of the results we have. For example, for moringa, we also have some konjac, which is a food typically used in China and Taiwan and Japan, with noodle. They make noodle. So this is a very profitable aspect that come up with the win-win situation. So this is a very brief presentation right now. I'm hoping that someday I can provide a lot more. For example, sort of rice in polybag. So this is good for urban farming, for example. So where there's no space, then they can put the rice in the polybag to grow. Okay, that's all for now. So Andrew, I'm looking forward maybe sometime to present a lot more detail, including some example. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much, Erwin. And make sure you put your contact information in the chat. In particular, Juliet, I know, is working with Heather, who's working with Ctp, and she is working with the Backlocal Council and 17 other Indigenous councils in South Africa, particularly in what's called the Eastern Cape. They have 500,000 acres of underdeveloped land that is important for the very small population to apply these types of solutions. So it is very, very relevant to what we're doing, Erwin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone.
Of course. Lloyd, I'm going to stop the general recording and begin my presentation unless there are any comments. We're not on a rigid time schedule. So if there are any comments about Erwin's presentation or any questions, please, now's the time to ask.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So we are moving forward. I see somebody, Ayodele, has a hand up right now. Ayodele, did you want to unmute yourself?
Maybe you need to unmute. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes, good evening. We want to welcome every one of us back from the holiday, especially the member of Unity Network on this platform. My name is Ayodele Isaac, the president of UnityNet African Diaspora Uganda chapter, and also the media director for the UnityNet Africa. My question is, it goes to the last speaker, that is it possible to be for these investors to partner with the UnityNet Africa if we come up with a proposal? Because here in Africa, we have a lot of fertile land which are not be utilized, which can be which are productive, which we can utilize for the for agriculture production, which either for the both exportation and also for local consumption. So I want to know if they can, this organization, these investors can incorporate with us as a UnityNet Africa and diaspora?
If I may, Lloyd, so basically, I think it is possible. It's very flexible. So maybe in this situation, I would suggest the UnityNet become a manager to a group of farmers, poor farmers, again, and make the managing of all these farmers. And at the same time, maybe get some percentage of the harvest, but make sure that the farmer will get majority of this harvest product. And as far as the investor, they could also get some reason, maybe small reason, maybe 10% of the harvest, and 5% or maybe 0%, depending on their social aspect, their social impact that they would like to do. So it is flexible. So I would suggest, for example, in this case, UnityNet has become the manager of this program that's managing all these family for farmer. Just communicates 1 a week or depending on how the planting grow. And it is not necessarily only planting or agriculture. For example, telehealth, we can maybe provide some group of in the village where there's a location for where people get together maybe once a week and provide maybe some telehealth or teleeducation to small children, for example, and provides maybe some tablets to this, if it is possible to everyone, so that the children can learn. The mother can also be empowered by the information. Maybe maybe a mother is expecting mother, so maybe they can have information about what will be the best health care during pregnancy. So all these things is very flexible. It can be something that maybe provide water, clean water for everybody, from the water sources to the village. Maybe we provide water from the well, local well, deep drill the well, and then provide the water for the community. And if necessary, they might be charged for small amount of money, of course. And again, the investor can either provide money and then with some small reason, and also maybe zero reason. So it is could be the most important is everybody gets clean water. I hope I answer that.
Yes, thank you. I think you will help us drop all your information with Mr. Lloyd, so that the board of directors of the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, because our president is not on board right now, but I believe that the message will be taken back to him so that we can have a meeting with Mr. Lloyd, who is our global advisor and director, so that we will come back to you.
Imagine there's a big land, maybe government land. Maybe we can portion that land to individual family farmer for them to grow. Maybe this productive agricultural product. So all this is so flexible. So they can manage the land individually, and maybe each one has maybe 1,000, 2,000 square meters, and they grow things that they can get the result at the end. And,
thank you.
Okay.
Juliet, do you have your hand raised again, or is that Heidi?
No, yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's just one question, and I think maybe Lloyd can answer. I just wanted to know if the Slow Food Organization, which I'm part of here in South Africa, is it participating in this program, or Lloyd, is it something that one should propose when I meet with a group or when I'm in conversation with them? Because it's an excellent idea, especially on the part of urban farming where there's no space, which is one of my biggest concerns and areas.
Absolutely. I mean, as I think I mentioned to you just very recently, I am a member of the Slow Food Network. I've known about them for quite a while. I was introduced to them a number of years ago, actually, before I was involved with any of these things that I'm doing right now. So I'm aware of some people in Toronto that were members, and I'm not actually a paid member, but I am a member of their network. So we could ask them, the leaders of that group, since I am a member of that network, about, for instance, their presence in the different countries of Africa. their potential for us to collaborate with them as well under some kind of formal agreement.
Lloyd, we're about 12 minutes afterwards, so I'm going to stop recording and then begin recording. And I'll try to also shorten my presentation so we'll have time afterwards. But I'm going to stop recording now and start recording again. Just a moment, please. Well, thank you all for joining us. This is, as Lloyd Helperty has mentioned, our second Global Unity Network event for 2022. This is part of an ongoing series to connect the talent, skills, resources, and, as Lloyd mentioned, what we call the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaborative. The idea is that we are taking the responsibility ourselves to be the ones to be the change that we want to see. So in that regard, in the chat, I'm going to now put today's presentation so that in the event that you want to follow up individually, you can. I do want to also say that today's topic on my behalf is a backgrounder on an organization called the United Nations Global Compact. Let me first share my screen once again, because this is not a one-off for me. The Global Compact was founded by Kofi Annan, and he was actually announced in 1999. Kofi Annan was the then General Secretary of the United Nations, but it was at the Davos World Economic Forum in 1999 that he introduced his concept to businesses, particularly there were 40 multinational corporations. And the idea was that these corporations would join together and adhere to corporate social responsibility. That small group of 40 has now grown to over 15,000. It's the largest corporate social responsibility organization in the world. However, times change and language has changed. Most recently, the world's CEOs have adopted what's called ESG, or focus on the environment, excuse me, the environment, social concerns, and governance. So as we move forward, what we're encouraging all of our participants to do is to learn the language that is being used on a global scale. The Partnerships for Development that we are now involved with, number 17, was actually number 8 of the original Millennial Development Goals. And that brings me to Kofi Annan and the fact that in 2000, it was actually intended to be the Millennium Development Goals is intended for us to achieve peace on earth during our lifetimes, but during this 1,000-year period. The first 15 years were named, as I mentioned earlier, the Millennium Development Goals. What we're now involved with, the Sustainable Development Goals, is only the second iteration of that. In 2030, from 2030 to 2045, there'll be another iteration. But the idea is for us to collectively become more aware and educate ourselves wherever we are in the world so that we all have a common framework through which to work. That has been, I think, the importance of Kofi Annan. So I'll share my screen briefly and walk you through just a review of the United Nations Global Compact. And as I always say, technology is only great when it works. So please bear with me and I'll bring it to my screen here. I do have it, so I'm going to bring it up now. Well, I thought I had it. Let's see here. Screen. Okay, let me stop share and start again. Oh, here it is. Lloyd, I like you have too too many screens open. Let's stop share. Let's see here, just a moment. Rather than there be dead space, let me also say that today's focus is on the Africa strategy of the United Nations Global Compact, but that's only part of their ongoing intent to have a global strategy from 2021 through 2023. Okay, share screen. I think this is it, just a moment.
Is an organization with goals of peace and sustainable development around the world. Their mission is huge, but we're breaking it down in 2 minutes. 17 sustainable development goals. Let's get to them, cause the more you know. Look, in some corners of the world today, people are living on $1 a day. Hey, that's not how it ought to be. So go 1, eliminate poverty, and go 2, root out hunger across the globe. There's 800 million people hungry if you want to know. Number 3 is health and well-being, and getting people the health care that they need in. Learning in school are the hard to go for. Education opens up minds and doors. Goal number 5 is empower girls and women so they can have the same rights that men are given. Number 6, people need water that's clean. Poor sanitation can spread disease. Carbon-free energy is goal number 7, and how to achieve it is a question that's pressing. But if we put our minds together and work hard, we can find a solution, I'm guessing. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. Now imagine that you work all day for no pay. Economic growth and decent work is goal 8. Goal number 9 is to foster innovation in infrastructure and industrialization. Goal number 10, inequality reduction. 11 is sustainable city construction. 12, well, that's sustainable consumption. So what we use matches up with production. Goal 13 calls for urgent action to combat climate change, cause we know it's happening. 14, protect life under seas. 15, protect life on land. Goal 16 is for peace and justice. All over the planet, they're in high demand. And the final goal, number 17, is the critical factor, the heart of the machine. It's to strengthen the way we achieve these goals of sustainable development around the globe. Yo, 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. United Nations.
So that was the overview of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This is, in fact, as I say, goals for the entire world. But the idea is that if we all use the same language, then we'll all be able to align our efforts. I do certainly appreciate Erwin's input on delivering solutions to farmers. But as you see, it also dealt with other issues that impact our local community. What I'm urging each of us to do is to identify which and how many of the Sustainable Development Goals that we're already working on. There is no disconnect between what the world is working on and the Sustainable Development Goals. The disconnect is the connection of the two. So we in our own local communities must be aware of what these goals are and how they are being adapted by the world. We cannot overlook the fact that the recent Omicron virus caused the United States to shut down travel from South Africa, which brought to the world's attention the fact that Omicron was actually occurring. This has not worked to slow the spread, but it had some damaging impacts on South Africa itself. So the world is all connected. There are trillions of dollars that are being committed by major corporations and governments to address these issues. It's our responsibility to be able to provide data. The most glaring missing element of us achieving our objectives is that there is no data to work with. All decisions now are being data-driven. So we, in our own individual activities, must take human right number 29, responsibility to make sure that we can then engage with the activities around the rest of the world. So now let me share my screen, if I may, and share with you the background for the United Nations Global Compact.
As a human family, we've had an enormous wake-up call to how connected we are with a tiny little virus that comes along and shuts us down.
We all live in this world together. The same blood flows in me and any other person.
We're facing the challenges of an ecosystem that is stressed.
Things are not moving as fast as they should. Things are improving, but not as fast as they should.
The challenges that we are facing, they are materializing so fast that it's not only my children or grandchildren which will experience the consequences if we fail.
To do it, we need to do it together. Collaboration, north, south, east, west, black, brown, white. Strength in the diversity of the human family is what we need right now to get us past this incredibly difficult time. Might sound like it's impossible, but that's what we work towards, making the impossible possible.
20 years ago, a small group of United Nations and business leaders came up with a visionary proposal.
I propose that you, the business leaders here gathered in Davos, and we, the United Nations, initiate a global compact of shared values and principles which will give a human face to the global market.
I always say part of Kofi Annan's genius was he invited business, but he also addressed civil society and labor organizations.
The mission of the United Nations Global Compact is to mobilize companies around the world to align their operations and strategies with 10 universal principles in the areas of human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption.
The UN represents the body that aims to drive international cooperation and drive peace and security for humanity. And I think it unifies all of society around this set of 17 goals.
Our objectives cannot be met if the private sector doesn't play a fundamental role. And so the Global Compact is a platform in which all those businesses that abide by the principles of, and values of the United Nations and of the Charter to work together, representing the best of humankind.
For the last 2 decades, the initiative has grown to encompass local networks in more than 60 countries, engaging directly with over 10,000 companies.
The local networks are our global footprint around the world, and they work with us to translate the 10 principles as well as the Sustainable Development Goals into actionable pieces of work for businesses globally.
It is so decided.
Since 2015, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Climate Agreement have provided the most powerful common agenda that the world has ever seen, with an essential role spelled out for business.
L'accord de Paris pour le climat est accepté.
Any business that continues to operate under its own self-interest will not be around very long. So businesses that have a strong purpose, that understand how they can make society better, will be embraced by society and will be around for a long time.
Be the change that you want to see in business.
I truly believe that companies who do not put sustainability, the SDGs, in their strategies, they're going to disappear.
The mindset of consumers has changed. They increasingly want to buy from companies that are contributing to society as a whole.
Business must be part of the solution in when we address these big global problems.
The focus has shifted to both the short term and the long term, both doing well and doing good, making profits and making a change. This is a reality of the world now. Leaders need to lead sustainably.
The United Nations Global Compact is leading the transformation ahead, challenging companies to take more ambitious action on the Sustainable Development Goals.
I think it's absolutely impossible to face the challenges of today, the very quick change that is happening, without having the youth leading the way and helping us define the right strategies, the right policies, the right approaches to address the global problems.
The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not.
The world today has got more opportunities than it has the challenges that can be overcome by the opportunities that we have.
You find people in the most desperate of situations, determined to fight for a better future. That's the kind of world I want.
What has changed in a very short period of time is that the narrative is different, and that is fantastic.
If you want to have a good business, you have to mobilize people. A business is a sum of people working to something.
More and more people realize that sustainability is really about making the pie bigger, better, and more inclusive.
I hope in the future all businesses in the world will think about their own purpose. Business can only exist when they have a purpose.
We've got to show progress. We've got to reverse what's happening.
I see the Global Compact as an incredible organization working together with businesses to build a more sustainable world. We are united across the globe, for the globe. We're united despite our challenges, no matter how daunting the task may seem. We are united by possibilities because this is bigger than one business, because we are better together. We all have the same job. We are united in the business of a better world.
So there you have, in just 7 minutes, a review of the last 21 years of the United Nations Global Compact. It's critically important that you understand, however, that the Global Compact itself is driven by someone who has shared experience and lived experience. Kofi Annan, as you may know, went on to found the Kofi Annan Foundation. The first segments of the United Nations Global Compact, they involved only 3 aspects: human rights, including indigenous rights, labor, and the environment. It was only in 2003 that they added anti-corruption and transparency. Again, this was due to Kofi Annan's lived experience. It's true that there are millions of dollars of aid being spent to address the issues that we're talking about, particularly in Africa. However, there are millions more being spent on remittances by people who are born on the continent of Africa, who travel to other countries, who send money back to their countries. Unfortunately, there are billions that are leaving Africa through illicit trade and finance. So part of the objective that we're working with now is to strengthen the grassroots community at the lower level so that we, in fact, become the ones that drive the change. But so far, we've heard from older people. I'd like to now share with you a 7-minute clip from a recent United Nations Global Compact event that was held in December. And these have youth at the forefront discussing these issues. So I'm going to briefly share my screen with you once again. Thank you.
And methodology. Today's session is all about the latest update to help you align with latest climate science. If you didn't get a chance to revisit the previous session and material beforehand, it is available anytime on the Academy Learning platform. Some general housekeeping for today's session. So throughout today's session, you will have the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers using the Q&A feature on the platform, and also
I
make
apologize. Just a moment. I've got two videos running, so I've got to stop one of them. Just a moment.
Chat and the Q&A feature right now. My colleagues will be answering some of the questions via text, and we will also leave time at the end of the session.
So I'm going to begin that once again. Thank you.
Over to Ayo.
All right, thank you, Gloria. All right, so I like to actually pick from what Ms. Han started with, talking about the initiator, the collaborator, and then the question you asked about shared responsibility. Is it shared responsibility? Is it shared equally? Does one person have more than the other? Should be told, this is something I've thought about a long time. Shared responsibility, that can be said, but who has more responsibility than the other? In an African context, it's still a bit difficult to establish who carries more of the responsibility to actually achieve the all of this. That's the honest truth, because we've not been able to really establish in empirical terms the things that we actually want to achieve. That's a big gap for us down here that I have noticed, and it becomes a difficult thing because everybody now is working in silos on all these things. That's the major challenge. Even private businesses are working in silos. So you have 10 organizations working on, say, SDG 4. And I mean, we need to start looking at the possibility of coming together to do something together rather than work in silos. So it's becoming like a competition, like, oh, my organization is doing more, mine is doing more. Rather than competition, we need to start looking at collaboration a lot more, which is something that we drive and we focus on. And other thing that I would say, before I ask Samoa to talk about a bit about how we intend to use collaboration on their YSIP project, he knows more about it than I do, to be candid, is that one of the gaps I've seen, which I still mentioned at an event yesterday, let's look at situation of things that happen around us, is that there are I look at 3 or 4 angles, I mean, people that are responsible. But when you have an event, for instance, you find out that the professionals on the field implementing something are working on their own. The lawmakers, the government, the policy drivers, the policy makers are formulating their own policies without understanding what is happening outside. And we don't even pay attention to the academia who does the research. So everybody begins to work in silos. Now, the civil society organizations who are meant to do the advocacy are also doing their own. And I will say it, until this was, let me give a practical story. It's the issue of building collapse, for instance, which is about the environment in itself. And I said something that in Nigeria as a country, if we don't bring all these people in the built environment together in terms of policy formulation, in terms of the professionals on the field, in terms of those that conduct research, I don't think we can find a way forward. That's the honest truth. We will just keep doing it without making any progress. We'll just be jogging on one spot, exerting energy, but we're not making any reasonable progress. So we need to begin to look at how we can, even for UNGC, to look at how we can begin to harmonize all these people, everybody together. Somebody has to champion it. That's the funniest thing. Somebody has to be the central body that everybody can listen to. Somebody has to help in itself. People outside don't want to listen to the government because we don't trust the government. So when the government calls for a session, people don't want to listen. That's the honest truth in this part of the world. All right. So when a private firm calls for a session, government agencies don't want to come. You know how it is. So we need a central body like UNGC to create forums like this that would involve people from all these areas. That's the way we can start to build collaboration. Let's also start coming up with data that shows how many organizations are working on each of these SDG in different countries and link them together. UNGC can do that and begin to link them together. That, oh, why don't you work with this organization? You guys are working on the same goal. How can you collaborate to advance and speed it up before 2030? Let me just leave the floor a bit, about a few minutes for Tomwa to explain how we also intend to do that.
All right, so thank you, Ayo, for bringing me, and of course, thank you, Gloria, for steering the conversation. It's interesting because most of what we've done during the YC program is to sort of look at areas in which we can begin to look at organizations that are already even doing similar things to collaborate with in actually executing and implementing whatever innovative ideas we've come up with. What we're working on and what we've presented during the closeout program of the YCB is to help SMEs grow, essentially in Nigeria. I mean, there are over 40 million SMEs in Nigeria. So the problem has never been about having SMEs. The problem has always been sustainability for these SMEs. So we came up with an idea which is called Build to Last, that we want to help these SMEs be able to grow, we want to help them to build, and then of course, maybe go beyond the usual 10 years extinction period that most SMEs in Nigeria usually get to, and then maybe fall off. So, our idea is to work with a lot of both corporate and government organizations that are already in that space. Maybe they're doing they are doing their bit, maybe they're not doing enough. We looked at working with SMIDAN, which is the government organization that is in charge of small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. We looked at working with other organizations, even some of them SMEs that are, of course, interested in facilitating funds and access to funds for some of these SMEs. But we found that the major problem that organizations have is not even that there's that there's no fund in the space. The problem had always been accessibility to the fund. And it's always about having the right processes, having the right documentation, presenting yourself, and of course, putting yourself in that space to be able to access that fund. So we're working with a lot of these funding partners, a lot of these other organizations to help drive, let us know what they want. And of course, we can help this smaller organization possess what they want so that they're able to fit in, and there's a handshake and nobody is working in that. So SMIDAN is doing, they are saying, oh, these SMEs don't have fund, they don't have what they need to get the fund. And the SMEs are complaining that SMIDAN is not doing enough. So the idea is to let us be the bridge. What exactly do you need, SMIDAN? Then what do you need as an organization, as a small and medium enterprise to be able to there are a lot of financial institutions in Nigeria that have funds already mapped for SMEs. There's the Tolu Melumelu Foundation. There are so many of these funds that they give to these organizations. The problem has always been, do you have what it takes to be able to access this fund? And that's the solution that we're brought to be able to resolve, which is sort of aligned to SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth at the end of the day. So the original intention and the idea behind the SDGs, putting it out there, saying that we have 17 goals, this is when we want to achieve it, is to be able to rein everybody in, to want to help to achieve it. So, and that's the purpose of it. So it would defeat the purpose if people keep working in silos and not supporting each other to be able to help us achieve what has already been created. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tamiwa. Thank you all so much for the amazing insights. I mean, we kind of have delved into some of the requires engagement from all businesses, with the youth being a key force.
So that's just a portion of the recent United Business Strategy for Africa. I did put the link in the chat, and I urge you, if you have the time, to take the time to actually go through the entire session to get the viewpoint from the youth. Because after all, technically, we're here for them. All of us here are at a stage in our lives where we understand that the world is depending on the youth, not us. So it has to be, I think, a collaboration between them and us to accomplish these objectives. Before I open the floor for questions, I do want to share my screen once again, just to reiterate the 10 principles of United Nations Global Compact. The idea is that, yes, there are 17 goals, but what few people understand is that there are actually 169 targets that break down accomplishing and, again, creating data so that we can quantify the progress that's being made in each of these sustainable development goals. So what I'm encouraging us, though, is we embed ourselves, all of us, and at least begin with the foundation, a common foundation that already exists, where you have, as I said, 10 principles, then focused on human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption. This gives us a key common foundation from which we can build. So I'm going to share my screen once again. Thank you.
Africa. Welcome, Lusani. She's joined by Koketso Mandonsela, a specialist on employee relations for Vodacom South Africa.
Just a moment, please. Again, I've got 2 soundtracks going, so let me do my basic housekeeping here. Just one moment.
In this session with the amazing panel. So to the audience, feel free to type any questions or comments that you might have as the conversation is ongoing. Now over to the panel. Understand that the youth play a key role in leading change and collaboration to drive the Agenda 2030 and 2063 respectively. And I also know that the companies here are actively doing something about this, and that's one of the reasons why you participated or why you have active participation in the Young SDG Innovators Program. A report from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development shows that between 28 to 45% of people have heard of the goals, and a report from ISEC's Youth Speak suggests that young people have a higher level of SDG awareness than average. So I would like to, hear from the panel about what your involvement was in the YCP, the innovative solutions that you developed during the program, and in general, what is your own perception of the SDG? Like, what is your perception? What do you think the SDG is to you?
Well, again, I apologize. There was another soundtrack going that was from a previous video, but the content on the screen was self-explanatory. Again, there are 10 key principles. I do see that someone's just joined us asking about links. All of the content I'm sharing with you now, they're actually in the chat. The links to these complete presentations are in the chat, and I'll repost them again before we leave, so you can actually access themselves and share them as well. So there is something else I'd like to share. Our team here, including Lloyd Helferty, as you mentioned, are members of what's called the AHIABGA, or Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. This was launched in 2019, but this was a carryover. Here in Los Angeles, I'm the president of 5 Points Youth Foundation, and on December 31st of 2014, we joined the United Nations Global Compact. We came in with a mission and a vision. We set out a 5-year plan to focus on one of the United Nations Global Compact's key projects called Caring for Climate. The idea was for us to build a worldwide community resiliency network so that we could share information among ourselves. That, in fact, is what we're doing and what we have been doing since then. However, on September 21st of 2019, the International Day of Peace, in 2019, we were getting ready for the Decade of Action on Sustainable Development Goals. So the idea was that rather than just have individual ambassadors, goodwill ambassadors in local areas, we would recruit a leadership team so that we could have ambassadors that would represent regions. The first co-chairperson actually was Janice Da Silva out of a small island on the east coast of Africa called Cabo Verde. She had worked for over 20 years for United Nations Habitat. She believed that the effort that we were taking could provide grassroots input so that they could actually have a say-so in the outcome. Janice spoke not only English, but also French, Portuguese, and Spanish. So she took the responsibility for dealing with the Lusophone or Portuguese-speaking countries, as well as her region of Africa called ECOWAS. Lloyd, as he mentioned, is focused in Canada on not just the Francophone countries, French-speaking countries, of which Canada is one, but also the Commonwealth of Nations. Because last year, on January 1st, not only did the African Continental Free Trade Area go into effect, but also what went into effect is what's called Brexit, whereas the United Kingdom pulled itself away from the European Union. But what that caused geopolitically was for it to reestablish its input and outcome with its own network of countries, formerly called, well, now called the Commonwealth of Nations. Many of those are on the continent of Africa. So we have an overlapping intent that work we do in our local place should be used as a model that could impact not just the own country that you're located in, but in these regional networks. On June 23rd of 2020, one of our ambassadors, Shola Agbula, he made the commitment in Lagos, Nigeria, to establish the Shola Agbula Goodwill Ambassador Foundation, the Saga Foundation. When they created their website, they did so in mind with being a place where nonprofit organizations throughout Nigeria in particular could pre-register for the United Nations Global Compact. And in full disclosure, I have to say to you that like many other good ideas, the United Nations Global Compact itself was used to greenwash, which means that companies and corporations would join the United Nations Global Compact and get the right to use their logo, go out and raise funds, claiming that they were doing good works, but not doing the work. So over the years, there have been over 13,000 companies that have gone through that greenwashing phase and be delisted or eliminated from the Global Compact. Of course, most of these happened during 2000 and 2010. Now there's a more rigorous framework to work with, but what the Saga Foundation did was to set up a pre-registration form so that in Nigeria, for example, even though there are thousands of NGOs, not all of them are legitimate, not all of them are doing the work. So what the idea is to have those organizations that register through us to provide proof of their work, provide examples of their accomplishments, to have videos and photos about what they're doing, and to make a commitment to also register at least 10 other organizations that they could recommend to join our collaborative. The overall objective is for us to register another 10,000 new members around the world. There is no cost, it's free for nonprofits to register and join. It's free for business associations, it's free for academic organizations, institutions, etc. So the idea is that we could all then collaboratively, through the power of our numbers, have a major impact on the activities of what's called the local networks. The local network framework is very important. I'm going to again share my screen because the reality is that in 2015, a study showed that there are several countries where people are most likely to die from the adverse effect of climate change. There's also a map that shows that those very same countries are the ones that have the fewest number of United Nations Global Compact local networks. Now, my contention is that if we take the responsibility ourselves of populating those existing local networks and then expanding them in places where they don't now exist, we too could have a seat at the table for the United Nations Global Compact going forward as a collective that cannot be denied, because we're giving a voice to the voiceless and we are demonstrating that we are leaving no one behind. So I'm going to share my screen again briefly. And please, in the chat, put your questions and begin to raise your hands so that when I complete my presentation, we can address your concerns. Thank you very much.
A stakeholder platform for collective action. It's rooted in some universally accepted.
I've still got some. I still have sound going on, so let me first do a little housekeeping here, and I'll open the floor right now briefly if there are any questions or comments. Now's that time while I prepare my next presentation.
Let me just ask I'm seeing some new faces here today. For instance, James Muller is somebody that I have not seen on the calls before. Perhaps he might be willing to unmute himself as Andrew is
Well, I'd ask him to wait. I'd ask him to wait just a moment, Lloyd. I'm recording this presentation, so let me finish the presentation unless there are specific questions about it so far, so that I can have a continuity here. Give me just a moment, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen once again. Please hold. Okay. So on the screen, I hope you can see on the left-hand side at the top, you'll see an image that says climate change. And this is the result of a study, as I said, done several years ago. Well, let me see if I can show this a little larger. Just one moment here. So what we're faced with is that where most people would die from climate chaos, the global south overlaps the countries where the least number of United Nations Global Compact local networks. These are the countries where you see in red or dark colors are the ones where people are most likely to die from the adverse effect of climate change. Now, there is, in fact, a local network in place around the world. Right now, as I understand it, there are only 10 local networks in all the 55 African countries. At the bottom, this shows you an overlay of where United Nations Global Compact's local networks are located. So all those countries on the African continent that you see have light colors are ones where there are no local networks at this time. Part of the objective of these 2021 through 2023 Sustainable Development Goal initiatives, however, is to expand that number so that it's able to reach a wider footprint on the African continent. The great news for us, however, is that this initiative is not limited to Africa alone. In fact, you'll find a link to the United Nations Global Compact Strategy 2021 through 2023 that spells out the ambitions to accelerate and scale the global collective impact of business through accountable companies and ecosystems that enable change. Now, that ecosystem they speak about is where the civil society comes in. but I'm going to click on this link and take you directly to what is available online. Again, this content is in the chat. There is, in fact, a United Nations Global Network global strategy for 2021 through 2023. That's why we're actually going forward, not just this year, but throughout 2023 to align ourselves with these efforts. This is the graphic that shows the strategic ambition, the engaging the key actors, a focus on collective action, and delivery through effective local network, providing global coverage. This is kind of where we come in, as far as I'm concerned, on the African continent. The idea is that this year, there will be a launch of the first Africa hub in Nigeria, in Abuja. Many of us here have contacts there, but we also have the opportunity, if we choose, to take a look at what exactly is happening in those local networks. What I mean is this. In Nigeria, now there are less than 200 members of the United Nations Global Compact. So it would be very easy for us to add 100 new members through our network that could, in fact, then provide the leadership for how that evolves over time. Unfortunately, now we are approaching 10 o'clock. So I'm going to end this part of the presentation now. I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll proceed with questions and answers, and we'll transition to the next phase. So give me just a moment. Thank you for your time. This is Andrew Williams, Jr. I also put my information in the chat. The easiest way to reach me is andrew@andrewnetworks.com. But I'm also available, as you know, on Facebook as Andrew Williams, Jr. On LinkedIn as Andrew Williams, Jr. And this team, the AHIABGA Network, has a group on Facebook. We have over 1,700 members. Right now, they're passive members, but we encourage you to join that network because the idea is that we all then begin to assist and identify how each of us is addressing one or more of the Sustainable Development Goals, and then make that known to the rest of the world. Oh, before I stop recording, it is important that I share with you another of the links that's in my chat to you. Let me go back to online. There's something called actforsdgs.org. It's a very simple website to remember, SDGs.org. So each of you right now, without having to join any organization, without having to stop doing anything you're doing, can right now go and register your activity as an individual or as an organization to address one or more of the Sustainable Development Goals. The idea is that it's up to us to take responsibility to not just do the work we're doing, but also to become the role models so that our children see us doing this, because they will not believe what we tell them. They'll only believe what they see us doing. So I have to encourage each of us to take the initiative to, again, just go to actforsdgs.org and list your organizations or individual actions. As we go forward, then, of course, as Ayola mentioned earlier, we'll be able then to identify around the world which of the goals that we're all working on. If we're able to demonstrate to corporations that we are, in fact, working together collaboratively, then we can attract the funding that's necessary for us to be able to.
Andrew, you seem to be somehow muted.
Okay, the recording has stopped and I've begun it again. So we'll turn it back over to you, Lloyd, and we'll be able to move to close when you get ready. But the floor is now open. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. So we are in the last bit here. Actually, I don't have a whole lot of time as well. I have some personal engagement in about 20 minutes or so. But again, let's open it up. We have a lot more information information that was presented today than typically we have during these sessions. But again, I'd like to see if we can go back to some of the names that I'm recognizing that we have new people on the call, such as James Muller. I'm seeing as well Miriam Hutchinson, Maddie Louise, Amanda Rhodes, Abel Kandawire. Anybody that would like to unmute themselves and say a few words? We are a family here, and we are welcome of everybody and their ideas. And, we'd like to know more about you and your interest, even in just coming on this call. So it is open for us.
Hello.
Oh, James.
Hello. Hi, Lloyd, and everyone. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead of anyone who's about to unmute. I discovered this on Eventbrite, and it's very much in the number of different areas that I'm very interested to learn a lot more about, and how I can perhaps be more participatory and contribute to a lot of the different action items and action plans that you've all been putting forward today. There's an incredible amount of information which I'm gonna probably need another week to process through, but it's really very encouraging to have discovered this particular event, and the fact that it's weekly. I wish I had seen it sooner to learn earlier, but I'm glad I'm here now. I'm part of a startup. My colleague and Amanda Rhodes is actually also on the call, and we're just trying to better understand what's kind of already existing in terms of networks and collaborations, and really trying to change how we're all as a global community actually trying to take action rather than waiting for it to happen by the policymakers, etc. And the startups that we're putting together at the moment is on the one hand trying to give everyone an opportunity to see the Earth in the same way that spacewalkers have, astronauts, cosmonauts, taikonauts, etc., in a virtual sense. So sort of the item on metaverse is slightly relevant, but I don't think we'll be quite getting towards the Facebook's way of doing things. And on the other hand, also creating a virtual global space whereby everyone's different networks can actually be sort of shown through different multimedia links visually. So we're trying to sort of bridge the gap between, I suppose, the virtual sense of being able to see the Earth, but also Wikipedia is another type of encyclopedia that we're trying to put together. So it's very ambitious, and we've been going for about a year and a bit now, and we're just sort of slowly building up different networks. So.
Oh, thank you very much. Could I ask where you are located? Your slight accent.
Sure, it's I'm actually based in the UK, just outside of London, near Guildford.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, one of the things.
Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that one of the things that we are discussing with an organization in Germany that has its own networks across Africa, and we are actually trying to establish them as an NGO under their banner here in Canada. But they also have some local networks in the UK as well, some connections there. So I'd like to actually have a conversation with you about establishing, and I've had this initial conversations with this gentleman in Germany about establishing a Unity network, Europe, Continental network, as we did for Africa. So we're talking also about establishing in South Asia, South Central Asia, Southeast Asia, a number of these continental networks modeled on the African success, I guess, moving forward. So European network would be very important. And of course, also talking about what we call a Turtle Island network.
James, this is Andrew Williams Jr. We do want to thank you so much for joining us, but you can review all the previous activities and sessions in our Facebook group if you're accessing Facebook. It's Facebook group /AHIABGA Network. That link is also in the chat. But there's where we post the last 31 episodes.
Brilliant. Okay.
And we'll be posting the next 100 or so. But we do want to make sure you put your contact information in the chat. And I do have a project coming up right in March. Lloyd mentioned it earlier. Andrew Networks, we're powering the International and Indigenous Women's Day Conference. It's actually a 4-day conference, 5 days, from March 4th through the 8th. This will be the second annual event. So we've been working all year long to get ready for this. Last year we had 17 countries represented. This year we're going from 50 countries. So if you're open, I'd like to maybe discuss with you ways that your technology might be able to get a test run. We can kick the tires if that might be something of interest to you. And we even have a case study that you can show the rest of the world how efficiently it works.
Yeah, that'd be glad to talk to you, Andrew, about that, and Lloyd, very happy to talk to you about those things you were talking about earlier as well. So be very happy to contact both of you on that.
Thank you so much. You have another associate. If he or she would like to introduce themselves, now's that time. So the floor is open. I'll give it back to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda, and yeah, I'm also working with James with the Living Earth Orchestra. And yeah, we're mostly just a group of people who are all trying to work together and find creative ways of feeling like, yeah, we're doing what we can and connecting globally, and especially with Indigenous and marginalized people who are often left out. So yeah, nice to meet you all, and really glad that I've been introduced to this, and look forward to joining you all for future meetings.
And where are you? Where are you located?
I'm located in Oregon, United States. So Pacific Northwest.
Excellent. Sir Bailey, I see your hand raised. Sir Bailey, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Brother, Mr. Amanda, hey, Ambassador, good to see you, Lloyd, and pleasure to meet you, James and Amanda. I put into the chat a request to connect with you both directly, if that's possible, humanities.
Actually, I wanted to mention as well that we do have a Unity Network US group that is sort of nascent as well, but we will expand that membership as well off the ground.
So Amanda and James, I'd love to hear more about the Living Orchestra. It sounds like music, and I love music. So I'm actually in a meeting right now with online school. I'm a humanities facilitator, like I said, at Free LA High School Youth Justice Coalition. And our students do field trips in relation to Native American people and culture and territory. So trips to Oregon from California aren't out of our range. And we look forward to collaboration with the Living Orchestra. Sir, SIR, at youthforjustice.org. The number 4, YOUTH, the number 4, justice.org. Look forward to hearing from you, Amanda and James. Peace.
Thank you. In touch with you.
Thank you, Sir Bailey. And actually, Sir Bailey also has a show every Friday at 11 o'clock called the Living Well Tour. And I invite everybody. I don't have the link in front of me. Certainly that's something I will be putting into future presentations as well. So we should all connect with Sir Bailey.
Thank you for that, Lloyd. I'll make a recurring link for that. Much appreciated.
So we have a second Heidi in the room, and Heidi, I believe that's Juliet, that let us know that she'd be using your intro, but Heidi, introduce yourself, please. If you're there. And Juliet, you can also rename yourself to Juliet if you so choose. I see Abel has a hand raised, so let's move it to Abel.
Yes, greetings. So I'm new here. This is Abel from Malawi in Africa. I have a friend who has been asking me time and time again to read about this unity. I can't even say the whole thing, but yeah, he's been asking me to give this thing some time and look at it if I may like it, but I've not been able to do that. So he has kept asking me about it, and like a couple of minutes ago, he did tell me that he did tell me that Lloyd was going to add me to a group, and that's where I can ask about the group and everything else that I want to know. So I told him that was okay. And then he sent me the link to this meeting, and that's how I got here. So I've been listening and following, but I'm still in the dark. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here and how I could play along.
Well, Abel, perhaps you could tell us more about who you are, and then maybe we could find ways we can help you do what you need to get done. But this is Andrew Williams Jr. And so take this opportunity also in the chat, if you can, put your contact information. And if you have an organization, put the link there so we can find out more about you. But take a minute or so, if you could, and tell us who you are and let us know how we can work with you to accomplish your objectives.
No problem. I am a physiotherapist. Right now, I run a private physiotherapy clinic in my community here. It's a new clinic. It was opened late August. It's still beginning to take root. We are not making profits yet. We are still establishing ourselves and getting on. So that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
You say a clinic? What kind of clinic?
Physiotherapy clinic.
And what part of Malawi?
Mangochi. This is the southern region.
All right, is that a rural area or urban?
Well, Mangochi is still not as developed. So in Mangochi, I am what is considered urban, but it's still not as developed. But yeah, I can call it urban for comparison.
Right. Well, again, what we're trying to do is find ways we can identify and assist each other in accomplishing our objectives. So if it could be something as simple as you're sharing with us your website, or if you have an opportunity to share some of I know you're just getting started, but even some of your testimonials, anything you could help you, we would be willing and look forward to working with you. Good health and well-being is sustainable development goal number 3. So what we're asking you to do, Abel, is to begin to include that in your description and narrative so that you can then get aligned with others in that same space, and we can better find out ways to work and network with you.
Sounds good.
Lloyd, we have a special guest, so I apologize to everyone, but I earlier mentioned Janice Da Silva, and she is, as I mentioned to you, on the lovely island of Cabo Verde. It's a very small island, but it's a very powerful island. It's also a Lusophone country, which means the people there speak Portuguese. I've invited Janice here because we were technically supposed to have our meeting with Joyce Williams right now. But Janice Da Silva, if you could unmute yourself, please take as long as you choose to introduce yourself. Tell us about One Dress, One Smile, and then let's talk about Dev 17, because that's also the topic of our conversation with Joyce Williams. So Janice Da Silva, let me put you on the hot spot. Are you there?
Hello, Andrew.
Hi there.
Hi. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, Janice.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this meeting.
So tell us about yourself, Janice. We may have lost her. Well, I'll do my best to. Janice, are you there?
Looks like she dropped off entirely.
Okay, then let me just give you a little background. Janice De Silva is a 20-plus year veteran of the UN Habitat. Her focus has been on addressing issues to make our communities and our cities safe and sustainable, which is Sustainable Development Goal number 11. In her work with UN Habitat, I urge you all to just Google UN Habitat 3. Every 20 years, the world comes together to focus on these issues addressing the urban environment. As you know, as we move towards 2050, over half the world will be in urban environments. But they just launched what's called the New Urban Agenda illustrated version. And if you go, again, just search for UN Habitat New Urban Agenda Illustrated, you'll find there that they actually have provided guidelines and a course so that all of us can be.
Hello again.
And there you are.
Yes, hello. Sorry. No, the connection today is so crazy.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah.
I was just telling people, Janice, about your work with UN Habitat and the fact that Dev 17 was developed to connect the dots at the grassroots so that we could actually all then begin to find ways that we can work and network together. But what I didn't tell everyone is that because Janice, as I mentioned, speaks those multiple languages, she's our representative not just for the Lusophone countries, but also ECOWAS. And as we move forward now with this Africa strategy for the United Nations Global Compact, 2021 through 2023, we're looking to work with Joyce Williams, who may be joining us also here. She is a policy advisor to the African Continental Free Trade Area Policy Network. That's the secretariat based in Ghana. So just let everyone on the line know that the team that you have here, we have global impact, but we're depending on you to be the ones to help guide the narratives. So with that brief background, Janice, I'll turn it back over to you to introduce yourself, Dev 17, and One Dress, One Smile, if you are able to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope the connection won't go down again. May God help me. Yes, thank you, Andrew. So as you mentioned, I worked with UN Habitat, but also with UNODC, UNDP, UNAIDS, and UNFPA. I was 20 years working for the United Nations. After that period, I decided to take a sabbatic year to become nun. Nowadays, I'm a nun, Catholic nun, and I decided to. And when I was, finishing my assignment with the UN, you contacted me, and you launched this initiative of me being your Goodwill Ambassador at the 5 Points Youth Foundation, which I appreciate till today, because it really opened great opportunities for me to meet your network, to meet Lloyd and Maria, etc. Amazing people. So thank you very much. Dev 17, he came. It was something that even at the UN Habitat was the last agency I worked before I left the UN, and we, approved the New Urban Agenda. I went to Quito. I was part of the, the committee, the regional committees that prepared the Habitat 3 and all the story. And Dev 17 is a platform, a multi-professional knowledge sharing and advocacy, and also coaching platform that I have started in 2019. with you, inspired on the AHIABGA that you've just created, and the idea is to gather people from different, backgrounds around the world to discuss on how we can, localize the SDGs, because it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. It's still a big challenge, mainly now with the COVID-19, etc. So the idea is really for DEF17 to be a platform, a global platform within AHIABGA. We will always having the AHIABGA as the umbrella. I'm so glad that now you are being so active and making Africa at the center of your initiatives. That's great and strategic. So I see that I take this opportunity to invite all of the participants here to join DEF17 with their own initiatives and organizations. We at DEF17, of course, we have a program of action, but as all of this programs that starts from civil society, we always struggle. We have a big, almost 100% budget gap. Okay, even though we have a resources mobilization document, but it's not easy to find. It's not easy to get access to funds for reasons we all know, and that is why in last year during the pandemic, the peak of the pandemic, I decided to, in partnership with some other nuns in Africa and here in Cabo Verde, and some goodwill ambassadors from the network from AHIABGA, like Maria Venek from Sweden. I don't know if she is with us today, but I just told her, well, why not putting what we do or we did before as a hobby to turn it into a business, a humanitarian business, so that we can mobilize funds for our initiatives. And she said, wow, what an interesting idea. And in my case, it's designing colorful retro dresses, it's not because I'm African, but our fabrics, they are so powerful, as I say, they are so amazing. So here you can see some different organizations, friend organizations. Most of them, Andrew somehow made a contact as, for example, Hope, but there is the Youth for Human Rights and other ones, the organizations that we've been, in contact online mostly, because in person, I must confess that you don't know me and I don't know you. So I trust you from what you are doing, and likewise. And the idea of the vision of all those, as you are presenting it here, it's to build a new way of being in haute couture. So the product we have here is dresses, okay, and we want to show that through the simple act of designing a dress, putting that dress in global market, we can support sustainable development, and we can at the same time, do coaching to, in this case, to overcome size barriers, which is something that it really affects women's self-esteem. When you are fat, for example, in my case, I got fat due to a cancer I faced in 2012, and I became plus size. And I realized that it's not easy for us plus size ladies to find beautiful dresses. And it's, Odos comes as well to advocate for this. If we don't find beautiful dresses, you can create your own brand. You can, design your own dresses. So that's the story. In this path, 3 or 4 years ago, I've met Nikki DePina from London, and introduced Odos to her as well, and she found it quite interesting. So the idea of Odos is that we have this product. It can be any product. In Odos' case, it's dresses, okay? And by selling it within our network, by inviting people to sell, to buy it, we keep a percentage to our initiatives from these organizations that are part of it. So here you can see some webinars that we had, and we always try to combine what we call Odos Global Dialogue with a UN, a Global Observances Days, for it to have a greater impact. And in December, I just came up with, we had some showcases, around 4 showcases, and Andrew participated, if I'm not mistaken, in all of it. Here in Cabo Verde, we had with the Ministry of Health here, Ministry of Social Inclusion, 4 municipalities and associations and church, etc. So I conclude that this dresses story is, of course, it's not only due to designing dresses. It has to do with my background. It has to do with me serving at the UN. So I know every door I knock here in Africa, they open it because they think UN is a must, and it might be. Yeah, it is. I'm so thankful to the organization anyway. So based on this showcases, I came up with a cooperation, a concept cooperation agreement, meaning that Odos can be can play a pole position in as an entry point to cooperate with the institutions and organizations globally, because and this has to do with AHIABGA as well, that has a wide range of professionals in different areas, senior professionals in different areas. So we can provide at the same time coaching, we can provide technical assistance, and I'm going to give you another example, a concrete example. I recently support the mayor of a municipality here in called São Domingos. They wanted to set up their strategic plan for the 10 years to come, and through Odos, I provided them this technical assistance, and not paid. I just told them, okay, I can do it. That's peanuts for me because it's something that I've been doing at the UN for many years. So if you want your strategic work plan, I can support you on how you can develop it, and you can showcase all those to the world. So you find some ladies, influential ladies, those people you are seeing, they are ministers, they are CEOs of companies, etc. Famous people, right? So we provided technical assistance. I helped them drafting this strategic document, which I can share with you later. And they organizes this the showcases, inviting people to, to wear our all those dresses. So the idea is to tell the world, hey, here we are, and through dresses, it might be something, wow, a diplomat designing dresses and trying to sell it, but that's not the idea. The idea is to show to the world that yes, what we can do as a non-traditional diplomacy, skill can become a real business, and a business that can support the localization of the SDGs. So that's more or less, Andrew, the story about ODRS.
Well, thank you so very much, Janice. I love you so much. I just wanted to, since we had an audience here, to at least share with them what you've been doing. And now, Lloyd, I'm going to turn it over to you to close, because I do have a pending meeting with Joyce and Janice after this meeting. So I'll turn it over to you, Lloyd, to wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that's why I put up my hand there, because I do need to get going. I'm going to run late if I don't leave within the next 5 or so minutes. So I just want to finish up the day. I do want to follow up with Janice on what she just presented there. And in particular, we are in the process of establishing a new network in Canada. So UnityNet Canada. And this is just coming together, actually, with Gemma being in Calgary in Alberta as a second chapter besides the Greater Toronto chapter, which was our first. But we are in conversation with a lady in Ottawa. And for us, I think that is very important in terms of the relationships that we may be able to create with our leader, the lady in Ottawa, with yourself, Janice, perhaps coming together to assist and work your magic in Ottawa, because Ottawa is obviously our capital city here in Canada, and there are many, of course, government people there, and many NGOs as well. Canadian NGOs have their headquarters typically in Ottawa, because that is where the action is happening on the policy front. As well, the lady in Ottawa is as well a Catholic, a devout Catholic. And she would wish to learn more about what you are doing and how you are doing it. So I think it makes sense that we may want to have a conversation. You may find a lot of synergies, especially I think in terms of us moving forward as well with what we call our Abraham project. So I would like to fill you in on that, which is a collaborative effort to bring together the 2.4 billion Christians of the world, Catholics primarily, and the 2 billion Muslims of the world to work together jointly to implement and work in harmony toward achieving these globalization pathways around the world in our local communities. And this is inspired actually by the original ceremonies that took place with the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation in St. Jamestown, Toronto, and in Bermuda, where we brought together the communities of faith to have dialogues. And so the Abraham Project and the Trees of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting that we'd like to do this year on World Environment Day, June 5th, is a very important campaign that we're trying to do across Africa as well as in other countries. So if we could have a follow-up dialogue on that, I would be very happy to accommodate that.
As you say, Lloyd, it's time to close.
Involve ODOS in this as well.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Well, thank everyone for being with us. Any closing thoughts before we leave? Now's that time. Okay. Well, thank everyone for joining us. We're going to wind this up today, and we'll be here next week, Same bat channel, same bat time.
Thank you, Andrew. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.
All right.